A recent survey conducted by Coupon Follow found that 38% of Americans are concerned about getting COVID during the holidays. According to this survey, 40% of people feel comfortable attending events with unmasked attendees, while 36% said they were okay gathering with people who are unvaccinated.
Dr. Fauci discussed holiday gatherings earlier in the week and gave vaccinated families the green light to enjoy the season. Let's watch.
If you get vaccinated and your family's vaccinated, you can feel good about enjoying a typical Thanksgiving, Christmas with your family and close friends.
Team Rising is here to weigh in. The Hill's Julia Manchester and GOP strategist Malik Abdul join us now to discuss. Welcome back to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Malik, this was almost a refreshing change of pace, I thought, from Dr. Fauci, who a couple of weeks ago, it was a little bit less certain that we'd be celebrating Thanksgiving. Obviously, I think people would be celebrating Thanksgiving regardless. His, ability to kind of steer what all of humanity is going to do, hopefully waning. But, what do you think heading into these holidays? How risk-averse should people be?
Let's be clear. I've been vaccinated myself. I encourage people to get vaccinated. I don't want the flu. And in the same way, I don't want to contract the flu. I also don't want to actually contract COVID. And anyway, unfortunately, I haven't thus far. And I think that's the case for the majority of the people. Of course, obviously, COVID has unfortunately been politicized. But I think if you ask people seriously, most people would say, I don't want COVID. And I think that's a reasonable thing. The problem is, I think Dr. Fauci, we'll probably have Fauci exhaustion, if you will, where, Fauci has been around for a while. And I just think that for the Biden administration, he probably would be better off at this point. If not, let's say he doesn't fire Fauci, fine, don't fire Fauci, but remove him from the public airwaves and just maybe have somebody else out there doing it. Have the director of the NIH or somebody else out there making these sort of media rounds, because to continue to have Fauci give us the green light, if you will, to say, enjoy your holidays, I just don't think that that's where the American people are.
Julia, do you think Fauci's move in a slightly more lenient direction has anything to do with the politics of COVID that we're watching unfold?
I think that's playing into it, but we're also at a point where a lot of Americans are getting their booster shots, and we're seeing more Americans getting vaccinated. And while you're seeing some case counts rise in various areas, you're seeing hospitalizations actually go down. And I think that's part of the booster and the vaccination program. At the same time, though, I think it's interesting how Dr. Fauci has become really this polarizing figure. If we go back to March of 2020, when you saw him at the podium with President Trump, he was regularly with them. They almost had this unified front. He was very much viewed in a more positive lens by all Americans. But fast forward to November of 2021, he seems like he is very much this, shining light for more liberal or liberal-leaning voters, whereas for conservatives, they have a much more negative view of him. So, it's interesting to see how the Biden administration has deployed him, how the Trump administration sort of, at least in a public way, maybe sidelined him a little bit from those public appearances. But at the same time, look, I think ultimately right now we are seeing potentially dividends of the vaccination and booster shot program.
Well, in an interview with CBS, Fauci aired his grievances with how the U.S. and how Trump in particular initially handled the start of the pandemic. Here's that.
One of the things that to me was most difficult to accept is that we put together a good plan for how we were going to try and dampen down the spread of infection early on, thinking that that was accepted by everybody. And then the next day, the president saying free Michigan, free Virginia. I didn't quite understand what the purpose of that was, except to put this misplaced perception about people's individual right to make a decision that supersedes the societal safety.
Yeah, and I think it's, fair to criticize Trump for mixed messaging, for undermining, his own kind of statements or confidence in what the plan was. But of course, the plan initially was, let's pause for 2 weeks. And then that gradually morphed into, no, we're going to do whatever the health officials say for as long as they say that we have to, and then beyond some of that. So, Malik, is it really fair for Fauci to, lay the entire blame for the public being frustrated with the government on Trump?
No, and I think this is also part of the problem with Fauci. At this point, he doesn't have to give interviews talking, especially as a government official, he doesn't have to give interviews essentially bashing the last administration. What Fauci doesn't mention, and what many people know, is that it was that interview with Greg Kelly back in January of 2020, where Fauci himself said that COVID is not something that that American people should be concerned about. Not that we shouldn't take it seriously, but he said it wasn't a grave threat. Because of that's the information that we had at the time. We also know that Fauci is one of those who said those masks, don't go out and start buying masks. A lot of that was actually due to the supply chain issues that we were having, where we wanted to have those masks out there for our frontline workers. But Fauci himself is the person who said, don't go out and buy masks. So I don't think it's very responsible for Fauci at this point to continue pushing this narrative about Donald Trump, when in fact he was there. We know that as far as the government is concerned, not Donald Trump, as far as the government is concerned, they did put the right information out there about how to slow the spread. The 15 days, social distancing, sanitizing your environment. That is what the government continued to do under Donald Trump. And so I think Fauci is doing Biden a disservice by having these type of conversations.
Yeah. We got to leave it there. Julia and Malik, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with more Rising right after this.